Good evening, everybody. How are you?
Fine.
Good. So glad that you all could come out. My name is Cheryl Wilkerson. I'm the host of Real Talk with Cheryl Wilkerson. It airs on WHOV, that's 88.1, every Thursday at noon. And what we do is we sit down and we discuss community issues that can also be heard online at WHOV.org. And it's all about the community. It's all about what the community is thinking, feeling, all of that good stuff. So please, any Thursday, join me. We would love to hear from you, okay? All right, now, okay, you all can't be solemn and all of that, okay? This is serious business, but we want it to be lively, engaging, and all that good stuff. We're going to learn a lot about these candidates. We're going to have a good time doing it, but we're going to know that this is serious business. Is that okay? All right. If you wanted to submit a question, because later in the format we will allow for questions from the audience, please see the gentleman in the back. I believe he's passing out cards, and you can write your question down, and as long as you write it so I can read it, I will get to it. Is that good? All righty. All right. So the questions, as you can see, will be displayed on our screen right there. So you all will have the opportunity to see them, make sure I'm reading them correctly, and we'll ask the candidates, as we said, they'll have 2 minutes to respond. The other candidate will have 1 minute for rebuttal if they would like to, and we'll see if there are any follow-up questions necessary. You ready to get started? Can I get some smiles? Can I get some, okay? Yeah, okay, that's a little bit better. You make me feel better, okay. All right, first question, as you can see. You ready, Mr. Edwards, you okay? Okay. First question, Southampton County has a $3 million deficit and will possibly lay off 90 workers. What would be the impact on Franklin, and how do you plan to address it? And we can start with you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Appreciate everyone's interest in coming to this debate, especially for those who were not able to attend the first debate and be able to watch this on television to get to know us and be able to decide who they want to be their leader. That particular question is a little bit strange in that it has an indirect effect on us, but not a real direct effect. My suspicion is that if they have to lay off 90 people, it's going to have a bit of an effect on people being willing to shop and to spend money and to eat, do those things. We're the commercial center for both the county of Southampton and Lower Isle of Wight. So it could have an impact on us from a consumer standpoint. I don't know the number of people who may be employed in Southampton County. If they're talking about teachers, I know there are teachers that teach that live here. So there could be some jobs at stake. But as far as the direct impact on Franklin, I think it would be a little bit more of an indirect, except for those who could possibly lose their jobs. And that would be sad for anybody in a cutback. Sure.
Our other candidate, or participant, I should say, tonight is Mr. Greg McLemore. Welcome to the program. Would you have a rebuttal? Would you like to answer that?
Well, first I'd like to say good evening. Thank you for coming out. My name is Councilman Greg McLemore. I'm the councilman from Ward number 3. And certainly I'd be happy to answer the question. As I agree with the mayor that any time there is an effect in our general area, we can potentially feel the effects here. However, because it's in Southampton County, it wouldn't impact us directly, as some might think. But I think that any impact is important because those 90 people, oftentimes they shop at stores in Franklin, and therefore they don't have that income. They can't circulate it in the economy. So even though they're there, we are the largest metropolis or metropolitan area next to Southampton County to a great degree. So I think that we would feel a little more impact than one would expect, but it wouldn't be as devastating as the loss we experienced with International Paper or something like that.
And now, thank you. Right now, I'm going to correct myself, and I'm going to allow both candidates to have opening statements. Gentlemen, you all right with that?
Sure.
I forgot that earlier.
That's okay.
All right. Mr. Mayor, we'll start with you.
Thank you. It's a privilege to be able to participate in this debate. I've been mayor for 16 years. We've been through an awful lot together, and it's required everyone to step up and to try to do more than we thought we were capable of doing. Over the 16 years, we've had floods, we've had hurricanes, and more devastating than anything, we've had the closure of International Paper. During that period of time, we've all been asked to step up and do the very best that we could. It required a great deal of leadership, and it required someone to have a vision so that we didn't lose ourselves in the process of recovery. I'm often reminded of our slogan after the first flood, "You can't drown a great town." And we've all responded. The merchants have been wonderful, the citizens have been wonderful, but it's required leadership. We've had to do a lot of things. I went to Richmond to get $4 million from the General Assembly to rebuild the building that you're actually sitting in tonight. We did a lot of things to help revitalize and repair downtown during the flood. We've come through the international paper crisis, and now we're repurposing that, and that's taken a lot of leadership too. So I hope over a period of time that I've been mayor, you'll be able to weigh the things I've done and the things that we've started and the things we have yet to be done in evaluating who should be the mayor to go forward for the next 2 years. It takes leadership and it takes experience, and I've had a lot of all of that. It's not always pleasant. It's very easy to talk in politics and much more difficult to govern when you have to make those difficult decisions. So we've got the experience. I've got the experience. I've been proven. I'm hoping that everyone will recognize the fact that this 16 years has made a difference, and we are, in fact, in the mode of revitalization. And I'm happy to say that. We're revitalizing our economy. There are 230 jobs over at the mill now, and many more to come. And I will look forward to being able to continue this progress going forward.
Thank you. Councilman McLemore.
Yes, once again, it's a pleasure to be here with you. I'd like to thank My Vote newspaper for sponsoring this event to give us, the voters, an opportunity. This is very serious. This is the last opportunity that we have to address the voters of Franklin before our upcoming election next Tuesday. 1 week away, and we have an opportunity to make a choice. This is not a personality contest or a popularity contest. It's a choice between status quo and change. The voters of Franklin have an opportunity to try to make a difference in the direction that we're currently going. I have a vision that I want to share with you, and I hope that we will leave here optimistic and believing that we can do the positive things that are necessary to turn the direction of our city currently. This is very important, and I'm so happy to be here with the mayor. I was in broadcasting for 20 years and retired from broadcasting. I'm also a patented inventor, which simply means I think outside of the box. I think of things that others said didn't think could be done. And we all have ideas, but that's one of the things about inventors. Being patented says that you'll follow through with those ideas. They're legitimate. I could tell you more about, and I will tell you more about the vision that I have for Franklin. I think it's time that we embrace something new. We have to change the way we've been doing things, or we'll get the same results that we've had in the past. So I hope that you will visit my website, which is www.mclemore4mayor.com. And if you see any grammatical flaws on there, please count them to me, because I'm not a website expert builder, and everything you see, I did it with my very own hands, learning HTML and stuff. So it's not perfect, but it will explain a lot of my positions, and it's my pleasure to be here with you tonight.
Thank you so much. If you're just coming in, want to remind everybody you have the opportunity to ask your own questions. Please, there are index cards in the back. Just write down your question, and we'll get them up towards the end of the evening. Thank you so much. All right, question number 2. Can you explain the Franklin Southampton Economic Development Incorporated, and is it a good model going forward for economic development? Why or why not? Councilman McLemore, can you handle that one for me?
Well, actually, FSCDI, Franklin Southampton Economic Development Incorporated, has been charged with the duty of bringing jobs and businesses to Franklin. They were given some $3 million over the last 5 years from 4 combined entities. And they, in my opinion, have not been able to produce the results required for such a task and with such time and with such money. The mayor and vice mayor have come out in support of Franklin Southampton Economic Development Center and would continue to pursue FSCDI. I think that's not a wise choice. I did not vote to refund them the last time they came before us on the results that they had produced. attended meetings, and if you asked them where were they going to have us as a result of our investment in the next few years, they couldn't tell you anything concrete. However, they have done some positive things with our incubator building, and I'm grateful for the service that they have given us. But I do believe it's time for us to cut ties with FSEDI and put more responsibility in your elected officials to ensure that we have economic development. If we don't have economic development tasked to the council and your leaders, if we delegate it to someone else, that's fine, as long as they produce. And I hope and look forward to the day when we can delegate everything right on over to the city manager, because that's the way our city manager form of government is. We're supposed to delegate things and they get it done. But with Mr. Martin being brand new to our city, for him to be tasked with creating a vision for our economic development, I don't think that's right. So this is a time, this is a critical election. We will come up with new ideas and be able to allow the staff to implement those ideas. But it's up to us to get out and beat the bush, and we can't wait on FSEDI any longer.
Thank you very much. Mayor, didn't know if you had a rebuttal to that. I didn't want to overstep you if you did. If you didn't, we'll continue.
The Economic Development Alliance that we have with Southampton is very successful and very important. Both Franklin and Southampton were together before. We split up and tried to go it alone, and it was a total disaster because neither one of us had enough money to make it work. By being together, we leverage our resources and we can get much more bang for the buck. We advertise ourselves as a region, not as a singular entity such as the city of Franklin. We only have 200 acres left to develop. What have we got to offer beyond that other than commercial development downtown or in the Walmart area? So we don't have other resources. We have to have a way to bring people into the region. We work with both Southampton and Isle of Wight and the state and the Hampton Roads Economic Development Alliance to attract international interest and state interest all over. But we need that alliance so that we can, in fact, extend our offerings and have people come to us. We don't have a lot to sell, but we have to function as a region. We can't stand alone. We're the Commerce Center. Isle of Wight and Southampton have the land. We have the resources. We have the utilities, the water, the sewer, and we can provide that in order to give them a product that they can sell. Without us, they can't do it, but we don't have land to sell, so we don't have something to market either. So it is important.
Thank you very much. All right. It's been said that Franklin needs a gimmick. Do you agree? And if so, what do you suggest to make Franklin more attractive to businesses? Councilman, we'll start with you.
Well, I wanted to get a chance to do a rebuttal to the mayor. However, you're jumping right into what I believe to be a vision. Yes, I have a vision that will take our city into the future. It's as simple as that. We need to embrace technology, modern technology. We're not going back. We don't need to look for some company to bring us all of these jobs, because we are in a very competitive situation with all the other places across the country. However, we're in a very unique situation. We have an opportunity because we sit between Williamsburg, Richmond, and Virginia Beach to go after something that is attractive for the East Coast, which is tourism. But to have tourism, you have to have a gimmick, an attraction. Well, we have a distinction of being in an opportune situation to pursue the feasibility. Understand, I said the feasibility of if we can pursue the VSCI program. The VSCI program is the Virginia Solar City Initiative. This is a 10-year long-range plan, and it would be a mandate, if I were your mayor, that we would at least investigate the feasibility of such a program. This is an accelerated economic development program that would create a gimmick. Being a solar city, think about it. It's futuristic and it hasn't been done, but it can be done. In fact, the local newspaper had their independent experts check it out, and they said it's a long shot, but the experts say it's possible. But I think that it's owed to the people to embrace something that is positive and say this is what our goal is. Right now, if you ask 7 different council people, where are we going to be 10 years from now? You will get 7 different answers. We cannot create a map that will take us to somewhere if we don't know where we're going. And if we set a bold initiative, just like when President Kennedy said we'd put a man on the moon, people didn't think we could do it. I believe we have a unique opportunity. and we can take advantage of that, and we can create our own gimmick to attract tourism as well as electric generation revenue.
Thank you much. Mayor, do we need a gimmick?
Well, I think Mr. McLemore was the one that came up with the word gimmick, and I think that's just what it is. I think we'd be better off to market our strengths and what we already have as resources and assets. We don't need a gimmick, we need a plan. We need a marketing plan, and there are two pieces to that that I think are worthy to explore. Some of it's already underway, and some of it's been talked about, but has never gotten any legs. The first is we're in the middle of the richest wood basket on the East Coast. So developing all kinds of wood-related companies and products will not only enhance those who shop in Franklin, but provide a tremendous amount of work for all those in the forestry industry. The second, and there's not enough time to get into this, is to develop a marketing plan. You know, there are a lot of people that build these retirement communities, and they're down in Florida and all over the South where people go to retire. We have everything in this city to be a retirement community without having to build a thing. We need to market housing, the hospital that we have, the country club, the YMCA, the outside resources that we have, and all the things we already have here to make this a retirement community that would people like to come to live in right now. We don't have to build a downtown. We have a downtown.
Thank you much.
So we don't need a gimmick.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
you pushed an educational model called Smart Beginning. How does it work, and how does this program aid in the cradle to career goal?
Great. About six or seven, well, in 2003, we were very concerned about the level of the success that children were having as they entered public school. There was a great disparity between those that are entering from one program or another as they entered kindergarten. And it was not fair, and it was a big differentiation. We decided that it would be very important to try to figure a way that we could in fact raise the level of entry for all children that were pre-kindergarten to get to kindergarten healthy and ready to learn on the same footing. So we started with just 2 people and a collaboration. It grew to 8, we got Old Dominion involved, and over the period of the last 8 years, we have grown this to not only be the city of Franklin, but we reached out to Southampton and Isle of Wight and said, join us in dealing with our children. How can we help the children that are going to be our future? It was all about workforce. It was all about the career, but getting them trained so they could function when they got out of high school. So we started this program, and it morphed into what is now a model across the state. We're mentoring 6 other groups across the state on Smart Beginnings. Smart Beginnings doesn't teach children. They teach parents, teachers, new mothers, how to be parents and teachers, and how to be a provider of educational opportunities in the daycare centers, all the way from licensed to home-based. And we teach them, we train them, we give them the services, we give them the resources in order for them to be able to create a better child entering kindergarten. So when they get there, they can succeed in all phases. We don't skip it, we don't work on this and leave out middle school. It's cradle to career. It isn't important if we don't get them all the way into a career. So we have this whole program across the state and in this area, 3 localities that work on getting children ready to go to school so they can be healthy and happy and ready to learn. And they can succeed in every aspect as they go through school and be employable when they graduate.
Thank you. Councilman, did you have a rebuttal?
Well, I'd like to say I support the Smart Beginnings program, and I commend the mayor for his work that he's done with the Smart Beginnings program, but I think that our education program needs to be looked at in a larger picture other than just the children. I think that we are leaving a whole generation out there who are the ones who we might have breaking in our homes, the ones who are getting ready to get to an age of getting in trouble, the ones that are worried about going into college. We need to focus as much on them as we do the children. So I believe while Smart Beginnings is an excellent program, I think that we missed a mark by not paying more attention to the adolescents and the middle-aged students. So I would encourage programs like Smart Beginnings, but I don't think that they have shown results yet because they're too new to say that what they're doing is proven to have worked. So I support it, but I think there's room for improvement in our school system at large.
Okay. All right. Speaking of college, Paul D. Camp Community College gives the city of Franklin an advantage over smaller towns in Virginia for job retraining and attracting businesses. What specific things, are you going to propose as mayor to utilize the college in your economic development agenda? Councilman, we'll start with you.
That's a very good question, because in the VSCI program, it's a whole community thing, and in community college is included. There are hundreds of thousands of dollars that we can have come to our city if we are pursuing such a project as a VSCI. So why can't we have our community college teaching more trades and specializing in technology and being the specialist or the premier school teaching solar technology in the country? By doing that, our community college could create dormitories. By bringing dormitories, then we have an opportunity to create additional revenue because we have more citizens. My thing is, we need to generate more revenue with creative ways. By bringing people here and businesses here, then that's opportunities. I think I would ask that our college embrace technology as well as vocational trades. We tend to teach our people to go out and get degrees, and many times they can't find themselves employed. Well, if we were in the Solar City program, there would be plenty of employment and reasons to go to school to get your training in solar energy. And why not have that as one of our jewels? So we have an opportunity through the VSCI program to turn our community college into a mecca. And when you bring people, then, like I said, we can have dormitories, and those people spend money. You know, they spend money when they stay here. Their friends come stay in our hotels. So there's all kind of revenues that we could generate by working with our community college to embrace the grant monies available to teach new modern technology, particularly in the areas of renewable energy. So I think that one thing that I would do as mayor is, once formulating and get a consensus after a feasibility study had been done, and in conjunction with the community college to complete the feasibility study, that it would be a great opportunity, and that's what I would like to see our community college do, focus on high technology as well as vocations.
All right. Mr. Mayor, would you like to tackle that?
Yes, the college is a real gem, and we're very fortunate. Some great leaders in the past were the responsible agents of people for getting the college to locate here. It was a competition for it to go to Chuckatuck, and Governor Godwin lost out, and we were able to land it here. So we're very happy with that. There's some real opportunities there. It's a Workforce Development Center, is a gem that's recognized all across the country. International paper people that come here say they've never seen a facility like that in a town of our size, and is working, and they really appreciate the fact that all the training can be customized to any kind of industry that wants to come. They've trained Lowe's and Farm Fresh and International Paper retrainees, the warehousing industry, Verizon, Murphy Brown Farms. They've got all kinds of programs that they can customize, and that adds to our economic viability because it's a resource that people can look at and say, well, if we go to Franklin, we already know we have training dollars and we have trainers there that can train our new employees for whatever it is that we need.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, please feel free. If you don't want to take up the entire amount of time allotted to you, you don't have to, but if you need it, it's there for you. Next up, we have a pretty simple question, and it's one a lot of people want to know. Why do you want to run for mayor? Why do you want to be the mayor? Mayor, you may start with that one.
Thank you. I got to grow up here. It was a real privilege. I was raised here all my life except for my first 18 months, and it was the best of times. In the 50s and the 60s, you didn't lock your door. You could ride your bicycle wherever you wanted to go. The people that I knew, my dentist, the car dealer, people that worked over at the mill, they were all on the school board or on the city council. I just saw people serving and making Franklin a great place. My parents have always been ones that served and gave back. My mom was a PTA treasurer for like 16 years while my brother and I went through school. My father served on the Board of Supervisors in Southampton County for 10 and the General Assembly for 32. I just saw it happen. I just thought it was the right thing to do to give back. It's nothing better, more than it's just my turn at bat to try to help make Franklin a better place going forward. I got to live here. I think it's something important about anybody serving in any capacity to give back to your community. This just happens to be one that I enjoy. I think I have a vision and understanding of what needs to be done. I'm a good listener, and I like for people to help give us the ideas that we need to develop to make Franklin better. But I want to be mayor because I love this city. I got to grow up here, and I want it to be like it was when I was growing up. We were just #1 in the whole area. We had a great school system, and we've got lots of improvements to do. And I'd like to see us get back to, not go back to the 50s and 60s, but to get back to the glory days that we enjoyed there. And I just love this place, and it's just my way of saying thanks and giving back.
Thank you. Councilman?
Yes, the reason I want to be mayor is because we need a change in Franklin. It all sounds rosy and very eloquent, but the truth is we've had the same leadership combined total of 49 years between our mayor and vice mayor. I take this very seriously, what goes on. My hobbies are politics. I can't tell you who won the Super Bowl. Well, the Super Bowl, yeah, but who the quarterbacks were, or who won the basketball championship. But I can't tell you who your senators are, who your delegates are, and what the people are doing that are affecting your life. I don't think people take it serious. Just like I commend the mayor for being here tonight, but I wonder why the vice mayor, who is a contender in this race, is not here tonight. I take this very serious. That's why I want to be mayor, along with the fact, but not above the fact, that the only way we can change the obstructionism that has become the political practice and strategy of the current council is that we create another seat. By me being elected mayor, we create a third seat on our council to appoint someone from my ward to fill that seat. When we can do that, we can stop the deadlock that's been in our city for the last 2 years. We must stop this deadlock, else we're destined to stay in the same place. So by running for mayor, I get to free up a seat, and we get another person on our city council, so we have more people, new, fresh ideas.
Thank you, Councilman. You know what? At this point, I think I'm going to do something different, and I'm going to address some of the questions from the audience. Again, if you came in late, you have the opportunity to write down a question, and we will ask it of the candidates, because I want to make sure that what you want to know, they answer. Is that okay? Okay. All right, and I'm going to answer them in the order that I got them, okay? All right. This first question says, what do you feel are strengths with our school system, and what can we do to improve it? Councilman, I'll start with you, and for these responses, we're going to limit you to a minute.
Fine.
What do you feel are the strengths of our school system, and what can we do to improve it?
Well, the strengths is that we do have a school system. We have not hit the levels that we have anticipated. There was a time that Franklin was the premier school in the area. When I first came here, Franklin had the best schools in the area. There were actually people who located to the area because of our stellar schools, the high schools. But that's not the situation now. So therefore, I think that the strength is that we have a school system. We still have our own. We haven't merged. We haven't given up. We haven't stopped fighting. And we can take our system and we can turn it around and improve it a great deal. So the strength is that we do have our own school system. And that gives us room for improvement. That gives us room for hope. That gives us room to create a target, a goal, to make our schools the best schools in Virginia. I don't think that it's too much to ask for the best. There is nothing wrong with our children. They're not inferior, and they are capable of being the best students in the state.
Thank you much. Mayor, what do you feel are the strengths of our school system, and what would you do to improve it?
Well, I think our biggest strength is the teachers. They're the ones that are dedicated, and they're on the front lines, and they do all the hard, heavy lifting. I think they're the ones that have made the schools what it is. It's not buildings, it's not necessarily administration, and it's certainly not government. The government is probably the problem with our school systems, not local government, because we fund them generously. But with state and federal guidelines, it is restricting what the teachers can do and preventing them from having more impact on the students just by the folks on the SOLs. We can debate that all the way up and down the line from Washington to Timbuktu. But the things that I think we need to do to improve our schools is we need to expect more from our students. Anyone that suggests dumbing down the grade point average in order to make sure everybody feels good is missing the purpose of education. The purpose of education is to help children become productive citizens with a marketable skill and a talent. We need to expect more academically, and we need to expect more as student citizenship. I say that the education is not free, and you don't have the right to negatively impact your seatmate, that you need to be a good citizen to continue to earn your place in your seat at school. We need to have stronger performance by our children in the way they behave.
Thank you. What can be done to make downtown shops and stores more customer-friendly for working and locals to shop? And in parentheses, they put hours of operation. Again, what can be done to make downtown shops and stores more customer-friendly for working locals to shop? Hours of operation. Mr. Mayor, we'll start with you.
I've heard it said, and it's kind of a joke, but it's a sad joke, that the operating hours in downtown Franklin are for the unemployed, because the ones at work are working during the day. And if you open at 9 or 10 o'clock and you close at 5 o'clock, when people get off work, there's nowhere to go except the ones that are out on the strip that are open. So we've got to not cater just to the unemployed or the ones that are retired and not working, but we need to cater to people that are working so that when they want to shop and they have time off from 5 to 6 on their way home, they have a place to shop. They may not want to open so early in the morning, but extend your hours. We've not had good cooperation with the business community. They seem to be satisfied with being open the hours that they are. It's certainly their choice, and they can open whenever they want. But I would recommend that they change their hours of operation to be available to the citizens. We need more people downtown, more shops, but that takes capital investment. We need to be loyal and shop at home, and that also helps.
Councilman McLemore.
Well, I think that I get uncomfortable. You made me feel uncomfortable now using the word gimmick. You don't want to say gimmick.
Do you need me to repeat the question?
No.
Okay.
I understand the question. What do we do to bring businesses back downtown and revitalize our downtown and bring people back there? And
you can have the gimmick.
Yes, and I think that's what we need. It's a part of the VSCI program. People don't have a reason to go downtown Franklin because I agree with the mayor. The hours are not happy. They're not conducive for retail sales. There's also the fact that our downtown one time boomed. It was a very good downtown, but all of the businesses opened up on Armory Drive. So now, under a tourism situation, those businesses have an opportunity to embrace and get people down there for all kinds of products. But if we don't have a reason for people to come in from outside of Franklin, then downtown has to compete with Armory Drive. And they can't compete with the big chains like that. And we do need to shop local. Yes, of course we do. But there's so much room for growth. But if we continue doing the same thing we've been doing over and over, we've been doing this for years. We're pursuing the same rhetoric over and over as what we're going to do downtown. We're looking for this quaint little Williamsburg downtown.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you. Councilman, we're going to start with you with this one. You ready? How can we improve services to seniors in our community? We are one of the worst areas for individual health. They cite weight, diabetes, lack of exercise. What would you do to help improve the situation?
Well, at the risk of almost sounding like Herman King with the 999 plan, I've got to say the VSCI program. We need things to do. There's nothing for our seniors to do. We need senior daycare centers. We need places where seniors can go and things that they can do. We need to improve the opportunities. As far as the health care in Franklin, there is nothing to do. We don't even have a movie theater. Under the same leadership that we've been having, our city has been going and declining constantly. But we can turn that around. If we will embrace looking at other areas, we have to incorporate a change that allows us to look at things that we haven't looked at before. We've looked at what we've tried, and we've tried with the Downtown Association, and I'd love to work close with the Downtown Association so that we can bring businesses, and businesses want to come here. We have to be more business friendly. We lost a business downtown because they had a sign on it that was too large, and the city made them take it down. The man was only trying to create business. We have to become business friendly in order to bring businesses back downtown.
Mayor, you have a crack at that. How can we improve services to our seniors in the community?
Well, I'm glad you repeated the question because I got kind of lost on what the question was. I think the concern for the seniors is health and things to do like recreationally. I'm right in the middle of working on a program right now to bring a clinic to the city of Franklin to address the health, to provide health care to all citizens. primarily those who are the underserved, those who don't have insurance and can't afford to go to the doctor. And they wait till catastrophes come and they go to the emergency room. And once they leave the emergency room, there's nowhere to go for follow-up. We've been looking for 4 years at trying to bring this clinic to the city. We've had 3 meetings over the last year. We're on the bubble of being able to start that clinic as soon as federal monies are freed up to fund a clinic so people can, in fact, get the kind of continual family health care that they deserve. It's for those people who don't have insurance that need these kinds of services. And we're right on the bubble of doing that. It'll take a year or 2, but we're getting close to that. And I've been working on it for 4 years to address that singular item.
Thank you much. All right. How can we improve our central business district downtown while preserving the historic and cultural values that make our community unique? How can we improve our central business district downtown while preserving the historic and cultural values that make our community unique? Mr. Mayor.
We have a historic district and we have a downtown district, and we want to preserve the unique characteristics of our downtown. It's been said by those in urban development all over the country that the character of your city is determined by what your downtown is. Some say it's a school, some say it's the downtown. But the character of your downtown is what makes you look good and what makes people feel good and want to be here. So we need to preserve these buildings. I'd like to see the emblems of snowdrifts painted back on the side of Billy Phillips's building. I'd like to see Parker Drug painted back on the side of their building, and the murals at Stan Rich's place painted back on the side of the building to preserve that, while we're attracting other people. If you're attractive, you're clean, and you're safe, people will want to come be a part of that community. We need more activities downtown that just bring people downtown. There are ideas of having car shows downtown. We need to have regulations that get out of the way and allow things to happen so that we can, in fact, have festivals and have reasons for people to come to Franklin. If people come, like they do for We Be Jammin', they'll come. Then businesses will come to be a part of that.
Thank you. Councilman, how can we improve the central business district and preserve the historic district?
Well, I agree. I don't have a problem with repainting the murals back on the buildings, and I don't think we need to deviate necessarily from the facade that's outside. But nevertheless, what is going to attract our businesses downtown is something new. We've been trying this, the quaint antique preservation of history. I think we can preserve history while we embrace the future. We need businesses that want to come here, and they aren't going to come here. I think we need to generate people to come out from outside of Franklin to Franklin, and they're not going to come for our little quaint shops. We Be Jammin', it's okay. It happens once in a while, but nevertheless, we don't have a consistency downtown. By embracing a tourism industry, we can fill our businesses. The more money we can make in businesses we can generate through tourism, and that's what the VSCI program is partially about, tourism. So I think the way we need to go is a different direction from where we've currently been going. And everything that the mayor has stated is pretty much what we've been aspiring to do for the last 14 and 16 years.
Okay. This question's coming from the audience, and if I don't get it quite right, maybe you all know what I'm talking about, and you can correct me on it, all right? When did you first find out about the big spin down in the electric fund, and why was it a council member who discussed this quite by accident and not the city staff not disclosing this? Should we hold the staff accountable from withholding this information? If not, why not? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Councilman?
Okay. While I'm embracing the future, I'm ready to let go of the past. We've been having problems. I agree with the question, whoever wrote it. There is a problem. The city staff should have recognized it. And we were fortunate that we had an accountant who's one of our councilmen who recognized that. And it's sad that, unfortunately, there are many who believe Franklin needs a little fine-tuning, and others will tell you that it's fine. Everything is great. But as far as I'm concerned, we don't need a tune-up. We need an overhaul in our city. We need to stop these things that have been constantly happening, this missing, this costing millions of dollars and thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars. We need to have some change in our city, some major change. And I'm the only one of the candidates who sees it that way. Unless we make some major changes, we are going to continue to get the same thing that we've been getting for the last 14 and 16 years. That's just one problem as far as the drawdown is concerned. Why did a councilman spot that? But to me, the more important question is, why do we have a lot of things like that she won't maybe not have the question to answer or question to ask?
Mayor, did you need me to repeat?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think it's fair to try to fix blame on where this came from. It wasn't a surprise. It was happening gradually over the last 2 years. We've had rate increases from VEPCO that we buy from Dominion that we buy our power from. And we buy it wholesale and we sell it at retail and generate a net gain to the city so that we can hold down the cost of your real estate taxes. It's been very successful for over 60 years in managing the electricity and giving better service and product. So why we got into this and why it wasn't discovered, I think people knew what was going on. They just didn't bring it forward. They didn't want to pass along a rate increase last year. For 2 rate increases, we've absorbed those inside the cash flow, and that's what's created the problem. Now, what do we do about it? We've got a new city manager that's working really hard with both the electric department and the finance department in order to come up with some solutions as we start our budget process in the month of May. But we have professionals on staff now that are looking at it very judiciously, which we didn't have completely done before.
At this time, we'll return to some of our prepared questions again. If you have questions you want to ask, please feel free, fill out the little card, okay? All right, so I don't know if Mr. Edwards, you know where I am, but I'm going to start with this one. Mayor, we'll start with you. When was the last time you visited Meadow Lane or Clay Street? And when was the last time you visited Cameron Street, 2 distinctly different areas of Franklin? If you did visit, what was the topic of conversation in both places? Mr. Mayor?
Me? Mm-hmm. Well, I visited Meadow Lane and Clay Street on Saturday because it was garden tour day, and we had 350 people from all over the state come in to enjoy 4 houses that were open for garden tour. During the course of the day, we talked about a lot of things, not only pretty houses and flowers, but a lot of the city issues. And there weren't too many of the visitors that I talked to, but most of the residents. They were talking about the election, and they were talking about leadership. They were talking about things that ought to be done. When was the last time I was in Cameron Street? It was about 3 weeks ago when Gurney Blunt died. I went by to call on his family. So what did we talk about? We talked about a man with a great heritage that made a great contribution to the city of Franklin. We didn't talk politics. We talked about people and families, and that he was the patriarch of his family and had lost his wife 2 weeks before, a month before. I also went and was asked to speak at his funeral. People along Cameron Street, and I was talking to another lady that went on Cameron Street, but just right down the street from them, that's one on our board of directors from the Boys and Girls Club. She's a great supporter. She's a Boys and Girls Club parent and very active, and she helps us and is a guiding light on what we do with the Boys and Girls Club. What did I talk about with her? I talked about children and the Boys and Girls Club and how we can strengthen that to meet the needs of the children. Those are the conversations that I've had in those 2 communities.
Thank you. Councilman McLemore?
I didn't have the pleasure of visiting the Meadow Ridge the Meadow Ridge function, but Mr. Gurney Blunt lives on Gardner Street, and I was there on that street, which is in, I found that there, ironically, through this campaign, I've noticed that we have almost 2 distinct Franklins, and many people know it, and there are parts of this city you would be amazed. You would literally be amazed. You don't think of the mansions and the beautiful things that's hid back there in the woods and things. But I told the people from the Southampton Franklin Chamber of Commerce, I love rich people, and I loved going back in that beautiful neighborhood. But mostly, we've been focusing on the problem areas in Franklin, and the rich and the elite of Franklin, things are going pretty good except those high prices of taxes. And on Cameron Street and Gardner Street and those streets over here, I'm over there all the time. I was there today, as recently as today, because I think the places that need more help deserve a little more attention. So I've been spending more time over there because, to be frank and honest with you, the citizens of Franklin knows it's beautiful. Things over there, the streets are fixed, the repairs, everything is great on the north side of town, with the exception of the cost, the high cost, the rising utility bills, the rising taxes, the insurance that under the next administration of the mayor or the vice mayor, taxes will be raised again.
Thank you so much. Mr. Mayor, we'll start with you again with this one. How would you respond to another natural disaster, God forbid, if one occurred? Franklin's been through it as far as some disasters, huh?
Depends on the disasters, how would we respond? But I would say give great comfort to the citizens that we have an emergency reaction plan, response plan. It's really just been updated again just this past season. So we have a situation in place to where when any kind of a disaster occurs, we have a book, we have a plan, we have it's all been vetted out, it's been worked through, it's been updated, and we're ready to go when any kind of a disaster comes. We marshal the resources of every department. We have department representatives that sit in a group that manage the disaster depending on what it is. And we're led by the city manager, who's our emergency response coordinator. And we have a great plan in place. Interestingly enough, we're working on ways to try to mitigate or understand when flood events might occur. Over the last 3 years, 4 or 5 years really, I've been working with 7 jurisdictions to try to, what we call the Chowan River Basin Task Force. And it's all the communities affected by the Blackwater, Nottoway, and Mahern River. And after all these years, just this past month, we finally gotten a commitment from the governor for $80,000 to give us gauging money to pay half of the cost to put 6 gauges upriver from us so that we can monitor rain flow and water flow and be able to accurately predict what is going to happen to the city of Franklin before it happens so that we can be better prepared to respond. And it's taken about 5 years. We've actually been working on it since 1999, more specifically on this project for the last 5 years. The government doesn't move very fast, and we've gotten support from Congressman Forbes, the Corps of Engineers, and now and Franklin just approved it the other day, so we now have some gauging that can at least help with flooding as it comes. It won't stop the floods, but it'll tell us what it's going to look like and how to when do we need to get to higher ground.
Councilman McLemore, natural disasters.
Well, I'm very privileged. After experiencing a disaster in 1999, Floyd, and then in 2006, I thought it was important as I got involved with politics in Franklin that if I was going to hold office, I would have to learn about handling the disaster. And I was very fortunate to receive a certificate from FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. A federal government, I'm certified to handle disasters, emergency disasters. So I haven't had the opportunity to handle them, but I have been trained and certified to handle those and to be a part of bringing a constructive plan that we can address any disaster, regardless of if it's a flood or if it happens to be a tornado or whatever it is, nuclear waste situation, whatever it may be. It encompasses a lot of that. And I would pursue immediately starting a flood prevention plan or a flood response plan. We've gone for over probably 12 years or more without inventing or coming up with a flood response plan for our city. After we know that we're prone to flood.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, you supported bringing the Navy to the Franklin Airport. Now, in light of the crash in Virginia Beach a few weeks ago, do you still support that move and believe it's in the best interest of the city?
No, ma'am. We had a complete discussion about that. We've decided that the council decided, many citizens decided that it was not a good idea to have them come. It's a closed issue.
Okay. Councilman?
The citizens of Franklin who will be viewing this on TV, you know what happened in our city. The mayor was adamant about bringing the Navy. It was me who had the vision to say the people don't want this. And I immediately stepped up and I said, I make a motion that we desist and cease any pursuit of the Navy issue. The Admiral made it clear. I was talking to a man today, and he was saying part of leadership is you have to be willing to make a hard decision and you need to make it fast. Make sure you do your research and make sure you know the truth. And then you make a plan, and then you execute it. And the plan in this case was to stop pursuing something that was obviously not a benefit to our citizens according to their desires or what the Admiral had said. The Admiral said that there was no economic development available. This was not an economic development program. So therefore, they would not be bringing any jobs here. The pilots weren't even going to stop to have a cup of coffee. It was just going to be touch-and-go landings. And he also said that most of the practice landings would be at night. They never gave us a demonstration of how it would sound at night. And finally, I feel it's a responsibility to look out for our neighbors as well. The only thing that separates Franklin from Isle of Wight County is a sign. That sign doesn't mean that they're not our neighbors. And it was our obligation to step up and look out for our neighbors in that particular situation because they didn't have help from anywhere else. So under my leadership, I will do whatever I can to benefit our neighbors as well as the people of the city and not put them in unnecessary jeopardy of plane crashes when it's not going to benefit the city in any way.
Thank you. Councilman, can you explain the charter amendments and why they were bad for the city?
I was very fortunate and blessed by God to join my co-councilman Don Bly, and we went to Richmond to have overturned what we felt were unjust, unconstitutional charter amendments that had the air of personal vendetta in their creation. Some of the amendments were pretty much ridiculous, in my opinion, because these situations are addressed in our current charter. We have a very good charter that was constructed by the founding fathers of this city, and they looked out for pretty much every provision that could be addressed. But we had a small group of citizens who wanted to create charter changes. Now, I go on the record, I support a recall, but that recall must include the citizens having the right to select a replacement if a person is recalled, not the council. We have too much of the good old boy system that's been going on in Franklin for too many years. And I would not entrust that good old boy system to be picking who they want because they've shown that they're very biased. As I said earlier, we've been practicing here on our council a practice of obstructionism. Whatever you try to do, they will obstruct you and try to do it. It's not a political strategy that is beneficial for the people. We've got to move forward, and these charter changes were not designed to benefit all of the citizens of Franklin. Councilman Bly and myself were fortunate enough to be able to go up to Richmond along with some citizens, Mr. Ronnie Joyner, Mr. Ricky Sykes, and many more that I can't even remember the name because I'm a little nervous up here. But we went up there and we were able to defeat 2 senators, 2 delegates, 5 council people, and 2 attorneys because we were right. I will always go to bat. The majority doesn't dictate what's right or wrong. Your conscience does. And I will not stop trying to do what's right by the people to protect the people's right.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, would you like to respond to that?
How was the question phrased, please?
Councilman McLemore, can you explain the charter amendments and why they were bad for the city?
Okay. The charter amendments were generated by citizens. They were not generated by the city council. Citizens brought them forward as a way to update our charter, which was done back in 1961. Back then, there was no thought of a recall. There was no thought of various things that were put into the charter. The effort was made to be efficient, and that proved to be not advantageous as far as the General Assembly was concerned. The thought was, well, let's go once and get all 4 things done instead of going 4 years in a row with 1 at a time. Well, that didn't meet the pleasure of some of them in the General Assembly. It turns out that the committee that we were before is one of the most contentious committees in the General Assembly, and it became purely a political situation, and it became racial. And the final outcome was to table it until next year and ask us to bring it back. So we're going to do that. We're going to work on it later this summer. We're going to have a referendum in the fall, and we're going to let the citizens vote on what they want to see in the charter. So we're going to do it that way this time around, and then go back and hope the General Assembly will listen to us this time.
Do we have a rebuttal?
Excuse me?
Can we have a rebuttal?
You can do that in your closing remarks, okay? All right. Speaking of closing remarks, I have about I have about 8 more questions. Would you all prefer that I do the 8 questions, or would you want to do closing remarks? 8 questions?
Keep going.
Keep going?
Having fun.
Our
Okay.
citizens appreciate this.
Okay. No, I just want to make sure that these people out here that are going to vote for these people out here have their questions answered,
I
and
agree.
it's what's important to them
I'll
is
stay
what
as
I
long
want.
as the citizens want to know. They deserve to know.
Correct. All right. So let's continue. All right. Mr. Edwards, I'm going to go. You be all right if you catch up with me? Okay. All right. Councilman McLemore stated that the Franklin Police Force has only 3 African-American police officers. Would you say this information is correct and proportionate with a city population of 53% African-American? Councilman.
Well, you just said it yourself. Out of 32 officers, I think they only have 3. And maybe there's one hidden somewhere, but I think there's 3 African-American officers on our police department. And I'm not sure if any of them live in the city of Franklin. It is not proportionate with the population. And there should be more African-American police officers. And I've had people come to me and tell me that they have applied for the jobs. Well, it's to the discretion of the chief, whether he hires people, and none of us know what those qualifications are. But I cannot believe that there are no African-Americans qualified to be on the Franklin Police Department. I just noticed they have a new police officer in training, but they can't find any African-Americans to put on the police department in a population that is 53% African-American. The mayor used the word racist in his last statement. There was no racism in Richmond, and there's no racism in me. I don't see color. I don't see color, and I feel like if there is one segment of the population that is doing a little worse than the other segment of the population, then we need to address those situations. And by sicking a bunch of young, non-African-American, young police officers into a city, into an environment that is 50% African-American, I don't think that that's fair. I don't think it's right. And I think it's a direct result of the leadership. And there is no room in my administration for anything but equality. So wanting equality, I would like to see it more diversified to reflect the population.
Mayor Council.
I know that we've lost 3 African-American police officers over the last couple of years for a variety of reasons. Some have gone to other jobs. Some have just left for whatever reason, different careers or whatever. I'm not sure of the reason for the exodus. But I think the key is best qualified. Absolutely, we'd like to have balance so that it represents more of our racial makeup in the city. But it has to be done with the best qualified. So it's important that we have the right people in the police department enforcing this. So it's the chief's job and his staff's job in order to do the right thing by the community. We can ask him, but he does not work for the city council. He works for the city manager. And it's up to them to develop policies that would address that issue. I'm sure he knows what his makeup is, and I'm sure he would like very much to have an applicant pool that would be qualified, from which he could choose African-American or minorities of a variety of races. But highest and best qualified of the applicants, I think, outweighs anything else.
Thank you. An April 22nd, 2012 editorial of a local paper is quoted as saying, "McLemore does not demonstrate the temperament or seriousness to make himself worthy of consideration by voters for mayor." Councilman, how do you respond, and is this a fair criticism?
No, I don't think it's a fair criticism. When the mayor first took this job 16 years ago, he was coming in from an insurance agency. Many have looked at my colleagues, and I'm looking at 2 politicians that have both been in office over a decade. One, a mortician, which is by practice very dignified. The mayor comes from a second-generation politician. Me, I was in broadcasting and entertainment. I'm used to getting people excited. I like happy things. My hobbies are politics and history. But nevertheless, I like happy things. So as far as the persona for the mayor, I'm a regular citizen. I'm not going to tell you that I am the polished politician, but I don't think that's what Franklin needs. We've had those. We have them. Look where our city is currently at. I don't think a lot of these questions are focusing on the fact that this is an opportunity for us to make a change. This is very important. If we continue and we look for what's pretty, we will continue to hemorrhage jobs, hemorrhage residents to the county, and we will deplete the tax base, causing a greater burden on the people that are here. We can't spend our time worrying about what the newspaper says as far as about someone's personality. I take this job very serious. More serious pretty much than anybody. I happen to be in a position that I know that I would give it more time. I petitioned the president to bring jobs here. I petitioned the governor to bring jobs here. So while a newspaper may want to make accusations, and I appreciate that they've spent so much time on addressing Councilman McLemore's non-ability to hold this position, I've shown I have the support of the citizens, and I'm the only one of the candidates that have a vision and an idea how we can move forward and break the deadlock that we've been experiencing for the last 2 years, causing us to have the highest trash rates in the United States of America.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, a local newspaper in their April 22nd edition says, Mayor Council is an effective ambassador, but how do you respond to the allegation that the council has been split along racial lines?
I think the split has been on topic. It hasn't been on racial lines. It's been on topic. And I think when we're presented with an issue, we all look at what is the best interest of the whole city. It's not whether it's south side, north side, or whatever it is. What is the best interest of what we're doing for all the citizens of Franklin? If it turns out to be racial, what's racial? Is 4 whites for and 3 blacks against? Is that racial? Or is it racial because it's 3 blacks against and 4 whites for? How do you define that? We don't function that way. It may look like that from the public, but our purpose is to function on the best interest of the city, item by item. It doesn't matter. I was telling somebody the other day, it doesn't matter where the needs are. If the lighting needs to be done on the south side to prevent crime, we're all for that. We're for addressing every problem wherever it exists. It isn't about, we don't budget based on ward. We don't give 1/6 of the budget to each council person to disperse within his ward. We don't think that way. At least I don't. I think of what's, and most council people don't even think in terms of what's best for my ward. It's what's best for the citizens as a whole. So we can be criticized for it being voted that way. I vote based on the issue. Other people can decide how they want to define that. I don't think it's racially motivated. I think it's topically driven.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, earlier you were talking about when you grew up in the 50s and the 60s, and you said that was the golden age of Franklin. You were describing those times, but my question to you is, what would you do to bring those good times back to Franklin?
What a challenge. We can't leave our doors unlocked anymore. Parents don't even want their children to play in their front yards. They don't want them to be in a fenced-in backyard. Life is certainly different than it once was. I think if we had more civility and more personal accountability at every aspect, person by person, neighborhood by neighborhood, if we just had pure respect for each other's differences and right to live their lives, that would improve the tenor of our city. I don't know what we can do to make people feel safe. Ms. Lawrence lives on South Street, and the first person I went to see in 1996 was to talk to her because she used to sit on her front porch right there, I forget the street, corner of Washington, I think, or Stonewall, I guess it is. No, the one next to it. But she used to sit on her front porch, and she said, because people are hanging out and leaning on my fence and drinking beer and throwing stories to the yard, I've lost the use of my front porch. Everybody in this town used to live on their front porches and visit and wave and talk. And those days are sadly gone because of the abuse in communities of people's right to their personal property and the enjoyment of it. And it's a sad day. But I think we need to, I think economics is a driver. I think if we had more jobs, that people would have more to do and they might be less of a detriment in the public's eye. So the economy has a direct effect on that. But as far as being able to get back the golden age, I mean, when I was growing up, the band was a premier band. They went to all the band festivals and won awards. And now we struggle to have good band players or band players at all. So it's affecting us all through the school system and our city. We have to be better than that. And I think if we treat people better, we ought to be better. The result would be better.
Thank you. Councilman, what can you do to bring back the good times or to bring on the good times?
I think the good times are ahead of us if we will embrace the new future. Yesterday is dead and gone. And I agree that it's sad when people can't sit on their porches, and it's unacceptable. We shouldn't have communities and neighborhoods like that, but nevertheless, as the mayor said, with economics, if we don't create jobs and programs for young people, it's interesting, again, because they asked this racially divided question. The mayor and I both support. We didn't vote along racial lines. She wanted to put money to the young people for the recreation center, and I wanted to put money to the young people for the recreation center. We both recognize that we have to take care of the young people, and we have to provide jobs. If we don't, it's going to affect crime. And the only way to do that is come up with something different than what we've been doing. I don't tell you I have all the answers, and I'm not the smartest man in the world. But we can't keep doing what we've been doing, or we're going to get the same results. We do need jobs, and that's what we need to focus on to do something about the poverty that affects a lot of the South Side and the high utility bills.
Thank you. Councilman, this is for you. Mayor Council has 16 years of experience. Vice Mayor Johnson has 13 years. Why should the voters trust you to lead the city with only 2 years of experience?
That's a very good question. I look at it like this. Add 16 years and the 13 years, you come up with 29 years combined experience. Look at this condition of our city. Is it prosperous, intelligent, progressive, growing government, or is it failing government as our city continues to go down? As I said, we keep losing people, we keep losing businesses. Nobody has come up with any plan yet how to bring businesses and jobs here. In regards to experience, diverse experience is what is needed. And I believe I'm the only candidate that brings that diverse experience. I have experience, executive experience, business experience, poverty experience, management experience, blue-collar experience, military experience, marketing experience, national travel and living experience, emergency disaster training experience, 2 years on council, and 53 years being American, versus the mayor's 16 years experience, which he has inheritance experience, he has financial planning experience, and he has some military experience. These are not diverse. These people haven't traveled the country and done the diverse occupations that I've been involved in. I told you I'm a patented inventor. You don't get a patented invention easy. It took me 4 years to assume it. In broadcasting, I worked for the largest radio station chain owner in the country, and he traveled, sending me around the country opening radio stations. I've ran hotels with staff as much as 30 people on my staff. I've turned businesses. You'll find through the financial disclosures, I had one of the largest contributions in this campaign from a former employer because he saw that you give me the ideas and I'll turn your business around. I don't think that the experience, when it's failing experience, should be held against someone who has diverse experience. I think we need diverse experience.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, your site says that you've been the mayor for 16 years. What do you say to those who say it's time for a change? What new goals and ideas do you hope to achieve in the next 2 years?
For those who think it's time for change, I ask the question, change to what? You know, what do they want going forward? The comment has been made that that some people would like a mayor that runs the gavel and cuts ribbons, and I guess occasionally kiss a baby, although I've not done that yet. I think there's a whole lot more to being a mayor than doing that. That's just kind of the perfunctory stuff that you do twice a month and you do whenever there's a grand opening somewhere. It requires leadership to do what needs to be done. We're part of a region, we're part of organizations, we're part of ideas that need to be brought forward. I'm working on the clinic. I actually founded and started the Chowan River Basin Task Force, which is proving to bear fruit now. Started the Smart Beginnings program, which there is progress being made. PALS K scores are better than they were 3 years ago as a direct result of that. I helped found the Boys and Girls Club. I started the Make-A-Wish Foundation in 1985. I led the recovery from the governmental standpoint with Isle of Wight and Southampton for IP's recovery, and that's proven well. And we're working on the clinic right now. There are a lot of things that we need to do. I think we ought to do a marketing plan that would pull all the people together. I've had conversations with realtors off and on for 5 years, and it's all been talk. No one will get together and say, let's put some meat on the bone, let's put some money behind it, let's get some city money through economic development, let's get bank money, let's get real estate money, let's market this town as a retirement community. So we need to do those kinds of things. There's a great big list, embracing the Chamber of Commerce, who wants to embrace business, getting into helping with education and business recruitment. I think partnering with Michael Clark and the Chamber of Commerce and the shopping list that he has is a great place to start. And we can then begin to make things happen here again. We're revitalizing. We need just to keep it going. Nothing's broken.
Thank you so much. Gentlemen, right now we're going to allow you your closing remarks. They can be 2 to 3 minutes. And this is your chance to get in any rebuttals that you weren't able to get in earlier, or say whatever you would like to say to the citizens of Franklin. Mr. Mayor, we'll start with you.
It's been 16 years I've been mayor, and I've worked really hard at it. People think that you don't do very much, but just attend meetings and conduct the council meeting. But there's an awful lot to that. Back when we had the flood, Davenport and Company, our financial advisors, said that the rating agencies on Wall Street wanted to know who the people were that were running the city before they would dare to issue our bond ratings. They required that the mayor, the city manager, and the city attorney come to New York and meet with 3 rating agencies. They wanted to know who it was and what we were going to do and could we be trusted. Those are the kinds of things that are required. I've done that. I went to the General Assembly and was able to secure $4 million to build this building that we're in right now. We got $1 million to help with downtown. We remodeled the train station and did our Main Street program. We've gotten a lot of things going that way. I've been very actively involved in pursuing things that would have a direct impact on children and on our education system. I've always believed in that, and I wanted to continue to serve in that capacity. It takes time, and it takes leadership, and it takes experience. When somebody calls the city and they want to talk to the chief officer of the city, if it's not a functional thing, they want to talk to the mayor. They don't call to talk to a council person, and I respect that. They usually don't call to talk to the city manager. If they're calling to talk about a policy or something of that nature, they want to talk to the mayor. When my phone rings and they say they want to speak to the mayor, my secretary doesn't say, well, he can't talk to you because it's not in the charter. He says the mayor's here and he'll talk to you. The interesting thing is I have an open door policy. You don't have to use my website, which I now have up, councilformayor.com. It's pretty interesting. You might want to look at it. It's got a lot of stuff in there, what we've done and what we're going to do. But it's important. My door is open. I have people come to my office all the time. If I do not have a scheduled appointment and someone calls, they're more than welcome to come. I'm of the philosophy that the best ideas are still yet to be developed. That every idea, our good ones and even our good ones, can always be improved upon if people will contribute their concepts and their ideas to it. It's important for you to be involved. It is not a 7-man show. It's not a 1-man show. It's a city. And you have just as much stake in it as any one of us. So help us. Be a part of the process. Don't just come with complaints. Come with solutions, and they'll be listened to and vetted. Oftentimes you'll find they've been looked at before, and there may be a reason that it has or has not been dealt with. But we welcome ideas. Citizen time is a good time to bring that up. See us individually. Be generous with your ideas. Somewhere out there's a way to get better than what we are now. We can always do better. We're in a good place. We just want to stay there and get better.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman McLemore.
I think that if we continue doing the same thing over and over, we're going to get the same results. 16 years, 13 years, and we don't have anything to show for it. I can't tell you I'm perfect or I have all of the perfect answers, but I'm willing to try. My motto is the city didn't hire me, the city can't fire me. I work for the people. To give you an example, different, 4 years ago when I ran for mayor in this city, I was the only councilman that had a website. This election, 4 years later, all 3 candidates have one. I take this very serious. Many things that I brought to, I did it, now everybody else is doing it. You know, they follow what I do, but they don't want to give me credit for it when I bring it to them. It's not about me. It's about we need to move forward as a city. We cannot continue to do the same things over and over. We cannot elect someone who we know what they will do. This should be the easiest election in the world. 16 years incumbent and a 13-year incumbent. And here's someone who has ideas and you don't even want to embrace it. The mayor said, bring us ideas. The problem is we bring ideas. They will not even investigate the feasibility of the possibility that we could do something different. They're closed-minded. This is not Greg McLemore that has caused this council not to embrace new ideas over this long time. We have to come together. We have to support looking into new things. And in this election, if I'm elected your mayor, we will get an additional person on council. I hope that all the people that are running new will run. We need new blood. We have a council person that's been up here 26 years. We have got to change, else we cannot expect that we're going to be able to create an environment where our young people don't want to leave Franklin. There's a lot of seniors, what they would like, maybe they would like if their children lived closer by, because there are opportunities, because there are jobs, because we are pursuing something for the future. Not trying to hold on and hope that things, I'm not looking for a retirement village, and I haven't heard that from the citizens, not the mass majority of the citizens. And how do we support it? They wanted to make this a bedroom community. Can you afford the prices of gas? Under the VSCI program, I want to create more independence. And I don't know if it'll work, but I think it's deserved trying to find out. If we turn our backs on looking, we're destined. We're destined to continue doing the same thing. You have 3 choices in this race, they say, but that's not true. The only thing the Tidewater News got right when they said there are 2 choices in this election, those two choices are status quo or change. We've got to do something to reduce these utility bills, these trash rates. We've got to change. And if you vote for me on May 1st, I can't promise you that I'm going to be the polished politician, but I give you my word, I will work with my heart, with all the passion that the citizens of Franklin have come to expect of Greg McLemore, to make a change. And I hope that you will embrace a chance to do something different. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Jim Council. Thank you, Councilman Greg McLemore. I want to thank you all, the citizens that came out tonight. Thank you for taking your time and being involved and giving those questions. They were great questions. I thank you for that. I just want to remind you, next Tuesday, you're going to do what? Hello. Thank you very much. Make
Ms.
sure
Wilkerson,
you do that.
Would you acknowledge that we did invite the vice mayor to participate in the debate?
She was invited to the debate. That is true. So next Tuesday, you're going to go out and vote. I hope you know how long the polls are open. You know where the polls are. And take these gentlemen up on their offer that if you have questions for them, visit their websites, give them a call, do whatever, so you can make an informed choice. We thank you for that. We thank My Vote newspaper for sponsoring this forum. And please, you all, drive home safely.